Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Crown, and today I'm going to read you some very interesting stories that I hope that you're gonna love. And now, without further ado, let's go!
It was the summer of '85 and I was a junior in high school. Life was pretty good, decent grades, a solid group of friends, and parents who weren't completely unreasonable. That specific weekend, my folks announced they were heading up north to visit my aunt for a long weekend. They'd be gone Friday through Monday, and I'd have the house to myself. Now, I wasn't normally the rebellious type, but something about an empty house just begs for a party. The minute their car disappeared down the street, I was on the phone calling everyone I knew. I set some ground rules though: no smoking inside. My dad could smell a cigarette from a mile away, and all bedrooms were strictly off limits. I even went as far as locking my parents' bedroom door just to be safe. Friday night rolled around, and people started showing up around 8 p.m. I had managed to get my hands on a keg. The drinking age was 19 back then, and my older cousin hooked me up. I charged $5 a cup to cover costs, which meant I was stuck by the keg for most of the night. About 2 hours in, when everyone was getting pretty loose, I noticed my buddy had disappeared. He'd come with his girlfriend, and neither of them were anywhere to be seen. I would have gone looking for them, but I was both tied to my keg-tending duties and chatting up this gorgeous redhead from my chemistry class. The redhead asked me if I really had the whole place to myself all weekend. I confirmed that I did, telling her that freedom was sweet. She mentioned that she could never throw a party at her house because her parents would somehow find out before she even started planning it. I bragged that my parents were pretty clueless, and as long as nothing was broken and the place didn't smell bad, they'd never know. The party went on until about 2:30 a.m., when I finally had to kick the last stragglers out. I was exhausted but pleased with how things had gone. No broken furniture, no cops called, and I'd even scored the redhead's phone number. After locking up, I dragged myself upstairs to crash. That's when I noticed the light was on in my bedroom. I pushed open the door to find my buddy and his girlfriend naked in my bed, both passed out. I asked what the hell they were doing, but my buddy barely stirred, and his girlfriend didn't move at all. I was too tired to deal with it, so I just grabbed a blanket and crashed on the couch downstairs. The next morning I woke up with a stiff neck and a mild headache. I made some coffee and waited for the lovebirds to wake up. Around 11 a.m. they finally came downstairs, looking sheepish. My buddy apologized awkwardly for taking over my bed. I reminded him that the bedrooms were off limits and asked what part of that wasn't clear. His girlfriend jumped in, saying it was her fault because she wanted somewhere private. My buddy then admitted, somewhat embarrassed, that it had been their first time together. That softened my irritation a bit. First time is a big deal, I guess. They left pretty quickly after that, and I went upstairs to assess the damage. That's when I saw it. Blood. Not just a little spot, but a significant amount soaked into my sheets, through to the mattress pad, and even staining the mattress itself. One of my pillowcases was ruined too. I later found out she had been menstruating, and they'd put the pillow under her. I flipped the mattress over to hide the stain from my parents and stuffed the bloody sheets into a garbage bag, which I threw in my car. I wasn't really mad that they'd had sex. I was 17, not a prude. But the complete disregard for my stuff and the rules I'd set, that deserved some payback. My buddy's house was only a few blocks away. Our families had been friends for years, which meant I knew every inch of his house, including the laundry chute that went from the second floor to the basement. His mom did laundry every Sunday without fail. I snuck in through their side door, they never locked it, and made my way upstairs with the bag of bloody sheets. I carefully stuffed them down the laundry chute, making sure they got wedged about halfway down. His mom would have to really work to get them loose when she went to do laundry. Sunday evening, my phone rang. My buddy was furious, demanding to know what I had done. I played innocent, asking what he was talking about. He explained that his mom had found the sheets and completely freaked out, resulting in him being grounded for 3 whole months. I casually admitted to my revenge, suggesting that maybe next time he'd respect someone's house rules. My buddy yelled that what I did was messed up, and his mom initially thought he had murdered someone. I shot back that my mattress looked like a crime scene, so we were even now. He hung up on me, and we didn't speak for about 2 weeks. Eventually, he came around and admitted it was a fair payback. His girlfriend was mortified and couldn't look me in the eye for the rest of high school. My parents never found out about the party or the mattress situation. I got the redhead's number, and we ended up dating for most of senior year, and my body never crashed in anyone's bed without permission again. I grew up in a middle-class family where I watched my parents work tirelessly to provide for us. Their example inspired me to start my own tech company right after college. The first few years were brutal, sleeping in my car some nights, working 20-hour days, and living on ramen noodles. But eventually my software caught the attention of a major corporation, and after 7 years of grinding, I finally sold my company for a life-changing amount of money. I allowed myself one indulgence, a beautiful Lamborghini Huracan in matte black with custom red accents. It wasn't just transportation, it represented everything I'd sacrificed and achieved. I only drove it on special occasions, like the charity car show I attended last month to raise money for the local children's hospital. The event was going great until I was getting ready to leave. I had just finished wiping down my car when a woman approached with a teenage boy trailing behind her. The woman excused herself and told me that her son really loved my car. I thanked her and told her I appreciated that, offering a smile to the teen who was staring at my car with wide eyes. Then she asked if her son could drive my car around the block, claiming it was his birthday today. I barely let my own family members sit in the passenger seat. I politely declined, explaining that the car had over 600 horsepower and required experience to handle safely. The teen looked disappointed but understanding. His mother, however, was not. She called my refusal ridiculous and insisted that her son had his learner's permit and had driven his father's Porsche before. I stood my ground, explaining that insurance wouldn't cover it and that it was simply too dangerous for someone without proper training. The woman became angry, accusing me of being selfish and questioning the point of having a fancy car if I wouldn't share the experience. She dismissed my prized possession as just a car. By this point, a small crowd had gathered, watching the scene unfold. Some people had their phones out, recording. I asked her to please respect my decision, noting that her son seemed like a nice kid, but I still couldn't let him drive my car. I turned to get into my car, thinking the conversation was over. I was wrong. The woman suddenly launched herself onto the hood of my Lamborghini. I froze in shock as she began stomping on my windshield with her pointed high heels, creating a spider web of cracks across the glass. She screamed that I thought I was better than everyone else with my fancy car, and that she would show me. People around us gasped and recorded more frantically. The teen looked mortified. The boy frantically asked his mother what she was doing and begged her to stop, but she ignored him and climbed onto the roof, jumping up and down while screaming obscenities. The carbon fiber roof was denting under her weight and fury. A security guard from the event rushed over and ordered her to get down immediately, but she wouldn't listen. My beautiful car was being destroyed before my eyes, and something inside me snapped. I jumped into the driver's seat through the open door and started the engine. I warned her that this was her last chance to get off my car. She defiantly challenged me to try driving, calling me a selfish jerk. I slowly accelerated, thinking she would jump off when she felt the car moving. Instead, she gripped the roof rails and continued screaming. I increased my speed slightly, just enough to reach the exit of the parking lot, hoping she would realize the danger and get off. When I reached about 15 miles per hour, she lost her balance and tumbled off the back of the car onto the pavement. I immediately stopped and rushed out to check on her. She was conscious but clearly injured. The police and ambulance arrived within minutes. The entire incident had been recorded by at least a dozen bystanders, all of whom gave statements confirming I had not acted maliciously and had driven slowly while trying to get her off my vehicle. The woman suffered a broken arm, a sprained ankle, and some bruising. She was taken to the hospital while threatening that she would sue me for everything I had. I pressed charges for vandalism and destruction of property. My Lamborghini had over $42,000 in damage. The windshield, roof, and hood all needed replacement, plus the custom paint job was ruined. When we finally went to court, her lawyer tried to paint me as a reckless driver who had endangered her life. Then my lawyer played the videos from multiple angles, showing her attacking my car unprovoked, me asking her to get off, and my very slow driving. She was found guilty of vandalism, destruction of property, and filing a false police report. She had claimed I had tried to kill her by driving recklessly. I also pursued a civil lawsuit for the damages to my car. Since insurance wouldn't cover intentional damage caused by someone else, I wanted her to pay for repairs. The court ruled in my favor, awarding me the full cost of repairs plus legal fees. She lost her job due to the publicity from the videos going viral, and her husband filed for divorce shortly after, unable to deal with the embarrassment and financial strain. In the end, she had to sell her house to pay the judgment against her. The teen reached out to me through my lawyer to apologize for his mother's behavior. He seemed like a good kid caught in a bad situation. I got my car fixed and now have a wild story to tell at car shows. This happened last summer when my girlfriend and I were driving back from her sister's house. We had spent the weekend helping her sister move into her new apartment across the state. It was exhausting work. Hauling furniture up 3 flights of stairs in the summer heat had completely worn us out. We would have stayed overnight, but I had an early shift at the warehouse the next morning that I couldn't miss. My girlfriend offered to share the driving, which was a lifesaver since it was a 4-hour trip back home. We left around 10 p.m. after having dinner with her sister. The plan was to take turns driving so neither of us would get too tired. My girlfriend took the first shift while I rested. The roads were pretty empty, which was nice, no traffic to deal with. Just a peaceful hum of the highway and some soft music on the radio. Around 1 a.m. we hit the toll roads. I was driving at this point, and my girlfriend was half asleep in the passenger seat. That's when we first noticed flashes of light in the distance behind us. My girlfriend sleepily asked if that was heat lightning while looking out the rear window. I told her it probably was, mentioning how hot it had been lately. We didn't think much of it and continued driving. The road was dark except for the occasional street light, and there weren't many other cars around. Just a few semis making their overnight hauls and some late-night travelers like us. About 20 minutes later, we found ourselves behind a semi-truck on a 2-lane section of the highway. The truck was going a bit slower than I wanted to, so I signaled and moved to the left lane to pass. Everything seemed fine as we pulled ahead of the truck, but suddenly, the semi switched lanes behind us. Before I knew what was happening, blindingly bright lights filled our car from behind. The truck driver was flashing his high beams at us nonstop. I squinted and complained about the lights while adjusting my rearview mirror to reduce the glare. My girlfriend turned around in her seat and pointed out that it was the truck we had just passed, and he was right on our tail. That's when we realized that the heat lightning we had been seeing wasn't lightning at all. It was this guy in his semi flashing his brights at every car in front of him. And now it was our turn. As if the high beams weren't bad enough, he started laying on his horn. The loud blaring made both of us jump in our seats. My girlfriend asked what this guy's problem was. Clearly annoyed and now fully awake, I was stunned. I've been driving for years and had never encountered such aggressive behavior on the road. Not knowing what else to do, I switched lanes again to let him pass. As the truck roared by us, the driver's window rolled down and a burly arm extended out with a very clear middle finger pointed our way. My girlfriend asked if he had just flipped us off. I confirmed that he had and called him a jerk. We were both shocked and a bit shaken. My girlfriend suggested we stay behind him now because she didn't want to drive anywhere near this guy. So we kept our distance, watching as he continued down the highway. Within minutes, he was doing the same thing to another car ahead of us, flashing his lights, honking, tailgating. The poor driver in front of him quickly moved out of the way, just like we had. I commented that this guy seemed to be on some kind of power trip, as we maintained a safe distance behind him. After a few more minutes of watching this ridiculous behavior, I suggested to my girlfriend that we should give him a taste of his own medicine. She responded with an enthusiastic agreement. Without hesitation, she took control of the situation. She told me to speed up so we could get right behind him. I pressed down on the accelerator and our car surged forward. Once we were right behind the semi, My girlfriend reached over and started flashing our high beams repeatedly. I joined in on the fun by hitting the horn in short, annoying bursts. The truck driver seemed confused at first, probably wondering who would dare challenge him. Taking advantage of his momentary confusion, I swerved into the left lane and floored it. When we pulled alongside his truck, I rolled down my window, stuck my arm out, and returned his earlier gesture with my own middle finger. My girlfriend urgently told me to go faster. I pushed our car to its limits, speeding ahead of the truck. In my rearview mirror, I could see the truck's headlights flash angrily, but his loaded-down semi couldn't match our car's speed. Within minutes, we were far ahead, and soon his lights were just tiny dots in the distance. We couldn't stop laughing all the way to the next toll booth. The adrenaline rush of standing up to that bully gave us a second wind for the rest of our drive home. We never figured out why that truck driver was behaving so terribly. There was no traffic jam he was stuck in, no obvious reason for his aggression. He was just being an entitled jerk who thought he owned the road. Flashing high beams at people on a dark highway isn't just annoying, it's dangerous. Someone could have been blinded and caused an accident, but that night we got our petty revenge. Planning is second nature to me. As a project manager, I like having systems for everything, including meals. I always keep a stash of frozen meals for those hectic days when cooking just isn't an option. My husband is the opposite. He's brilliant at his engineering job but hopeless about remembering what food we have. He either buys duplicates or assumes anything in our kitchen is community property, even after clear conversations. About a month ago, I bought a white bean chicken chili frozen meal that looked interesting. I put it in the freezer for a hectic workday. A few weeks later, my husband was rummaging through the freezer. He asked if the meal was his, and I plainly told him it was mine. That was it. Clear and direct. Or so I thought. Yesterday, I was finishing a client presentation when I heard the microwave running. Then came my husband's dramatic reaction. He loudly complained about his food being disgusting, followed by the sound of the garbage disposal running. Then he whined about having nothing for lunch. I walked into the kitchen to find him looking annoyed. Since I hadn't eaten my frozen meal yet, I offered it to him. When he asked which one, I said it was the white bean chicken chili. He gave me a blank look before revealing that was exactly what he had just thrown away. I felt a rush of anger. I asked if he had taken my lunch without asking and then thrown it away just because he didn't like it. He defended himself by saying I wouldn't have liked it either because it wasn't like regular chili. I explained that I knew that it was supposed to be different, which is why I bought it. He just repeated it was disgusting. I pointed out that he hadn't checked what it was, hadn't remembered it was mine, and threw it away instead of asking me. He looked offended and reminded me that I had just offered it to him. I explained I had offered because I thought he had nothing else, but now I was upset because he took my meal without asking, didn't eat it, and threw it out without checking if I wanted it. His face reddened as he accused me of setting him up and being unreasonable. He told me to pick a lane. I tried explaining through an analogy about a gift card, but he still didn't get it. I broke it down. He took something that wasn't his, decided he didn't like it, threw it away, and then acted like I was being unreasonable. He sarcastically said he would go hungry. I reminded him about the leftover pasta in the fridge, but he didn't want that. I'd had enough. I grabbed my keys and told him I was getting lunch, and when I returned, I expected him to understand why taking others' things without permission is wrong. While at my favorite sandwich place, I received an apologetic text from him. When I got home, he had ordered 2 of the same white bean chicken chili meals, plus other frozen options I like. He showed me what he'd bought and promised to ask before taking things and not throw away my food, even if he thought it was gross. I thanked him, saying that was all I wanted. The next day, I tried one of the meals. He was right, it was terrible. But that wasn't the point. The point was respect for boundaries and property, something we're still working on after 5 years of marriage. At least this time, he eventually got it. And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.